Was that for me? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So once again, we have so many dang things, I don't even know where to start. I guess we'll start here with the gun, sort of like we did last time. So come in and show them this, Vicky. This is a 6 GT with a 270-inch neck in it. That's .270. This is a foundation stock. Very nice. The inletting was very good in it. The thing is though, $1,400 just for the stock. And I actually think more than that, wasn't it, Vicky?
Yes.
It's more than that, $1,400. This is a BAT VR. This is a repeater, right? A repeater. It has Hawkins bottom metal in it. It has a ACIS box in it, I think. I don't know, he bought a bunch of boxes for this. This also has a Bixen trigger in it. Again, I'm not so sure about these Bixen triggers. If it's possible, they almost seem to be too good. It's like they just break. I mean, I don't know. We might do a trigger review. This has a Brux 1 and 8 in it. This is a 236 by 243. This is inch 325 at the breech. Inch 325, show them that there. So see, it almost matches up with the receiver. The receiver is inch 350. And this is 1.00 at the muzzle. It was a 31-inch blank. I forget where it's cut at. It's about probably 28, I would say. And this is a 4-groove barrel. This is a very nice gun. It really is. Like I said, this, they really, their inletting, they did very well. And see, that allows me to do my bedding much better. I don't want to take this out of here and show you the bedding, but it came out really nice. And of course, too, we bedded the bottom metal also. There are very few people nowadays that bed their bottom metal, but it's important, more important than people think, if you really, really want it to shoot one hole. Anyways, that's a very nice gun. It's a heavy gun, but a very nice gun. And so, I guess, where will we go here? So look, show them this, 6 GT. People are gonna say, what's this GT for? That is George Gardner, is that right? And Tom Jacobs. That is the Vapor Trail Bullet Man. George and Tom is what that is. GT, George and Tom. 6 GT. This is the first 6 GT that I built. Did you show them the part number for those dies? These dies are new enough that these aren't even on the Redding, they're not on the Redding website, they're not on the Redding list of dies. So the reason I'm showing you the actual part number, which I'll say it again here, is 38199. You will not find these anywhere except at Redding. Okay, so there's that. What else is new? So I knew that I was building a 6 GT, and I'm actually gonna build 2 of them for sure, maybe even 3, or if we get more orders, but I know there's another one coming. So this is, just show them what it is. Superformance, and I never used it before. And you know, I guess that's just because I'm always using the same old powders, you know, 4350, I mean 4831, I mean just Reloader 33. I'm always using Retumbo, I'm always using those same powders a lot. And so I looked, I needed load data, so I had to look it up, and it's not in the books, right? This is too new of a cartridge to be in the reloading manuals. And so this Superformance, and I've noticed this before with other cartridges, it generally would be anywhere from 1 to 200 feet a second faster with any given bullet weight than any other powder listed. I mean, they definitely get the velocity out of this. So we're gonna shoot this gun here, maybe tomorrow, maybe on Thanksgiving Day. I don't know, that's 2 days from now. I loaded, by the way, I watched an interview with George and Tom, and they were talking about developing the 6GT, and they said they designed it around Varget powder. So all the shells that I have loaded for it right now are with Varget. And I've got like 6 different bullets that I'm gonna be testing. But then I had 40 remaining cases that I did full load work with, and they are all full of the appropriate charge of this Superformance. So we'll get to, maybe we'll get to see it. Depends if the gun pounds one hole right away, we won't get to see. And then the customer will. But anyways, I've not used this before. Oh, I wanted to tell you about it. It metered excellently. This is kind of like a flattened ball powder, I think I would call it. Excellent through a meter, excellent through a powder trickler. I mean, really, if we get good numbers across the chronograph, and I don't mean just speed, if we get good extreme spreads, good standard deviations, this might be a really good powder. I like working with it, definitely. Okay, so there's that. And I guess I should have showed this because that's where you start with that. This is 6GT. This is alpha brass. You showing it? Yep. Okay, so this optimized case head technology, that might be really real. That's not a bunch of BS. I've never saw primer pockets as tight as these were. I always do full brass work, like uniform flash holes, uniform primer pockets. I mean, a whole list of stuff. Primer pockets were so tight that none of my primer pocket uniforming tools would fit. I couldn't even get them to go in, so I just didn't try. And when I seeded primers, I did it with a small press that I have, they went in tight. So you might really, again, you're not supposed to, but you might really be able to run some pressure with these. It seemed to be very good brass, but not perfect, because I did turn necks, and I partly turned necks just to see, because this gun probably could have taken ammo loaded with these without turning necks. But I learned a whole bunch of brass just by skim turning them. In other words, you can tell how uniform they are by how much it takes off and what the pattern looks like on the piece of brass after you do it. And I will say they were very good, but not perfect. Very good, not perfect, but I would definitely use this again. And by the way, right there, GA Precision. I couldn't think. It's George from GA Precision and Tom Jacobs from Vapor Trail Bullets. And this customer has a whole bunch of Vapor Trail bullets on order, and that's what he wants to shoot out of it, and that's what I wanted to test it with, but they haven't arrived yet. So we'll go into all that when we're actually out shooting it. So this, again, pretty dang good stuff. We're going to show you something in here in just a second. That's really what this is all about. I've never used these before. So that has Hawkins bottom metal in it. These are Hawkins rings, but look right here. You see what that is? 36 millimeter. I've never used 36 millimeter rings before. I've kind of tried to stay away from 36 millimeter scopes because I got my normal Badger rings that we always use, but Badger doesn't make 36, and they certainly don't make 36 with 3 screws on a side, which was important. So I guess I can show them to you. You're gonna get to see them on the gun when we go shoot them, but they appear to be very well made. The anodizing is very nice. I mean, everything about them. You see how there's a radius on that, the piece that clamps down onto the rail? You see how there's a radius on that? I think that's a really good idea, because as this tightens up, it can rotate in and pinch underneath the pick rail. I think that's, I don't know. I haven't used them yet, but they seem really nice. Mostly everything we get from Hawkins is pretty darn nice stuff. So we're gonna be using those. But here, I'm giving this away. I don't want to give that away yet. So I wanted to show you what's in this box though. There's never been one of these here before. Okay. This is brand new. And I'm only doing this just to show you how it came and everything. This literally just came to the door, I think yesterday, right?
Yes.
This came from Euro Optics, by the way. Euro Optics might start to advertise with us. And I mean like free advertising. They might just start putting ads on our channel. We've been dealing with Euro Optics probably for 20 years, and they have been outstanding. That's Alex Roy and Jason Bainey, and we really like dealing with them. I'm gonna go over and turn this heat on. We don't need that making noise while we're doing this. So that's where it came from, Euro Optics, and this is what it is. I'm just gonna throw this on the floor, Vicky. Look at that.
There's a glare on it.
Can you see it?
Yeah. Trying to get it without the glare. Tip it down.
Tangent theta. All right, let me see if it says on the end what it is, because we do want to remember what this is. So this is tangent theta. These are made in Canada. Professional Marksman series. This is a 7 to 35 by 56. And then, of course, this has a JTAC reticle in it, which I've never looked through before. Again, this is what the customer wanted. And I want to give credit here to the customer. The man that owns this rifle is a previous customer of ours. I think he has a 7 mag that I built years ago. He's been here. He's gone shooting with us. He's somewhere on our website. He was excellent to deal with, because a lot of this stuff we don't normally deal with, say like this foundation stock. And he's just like, no, that's what I want. And so he did most of the research on a lot of this stuff, on those, and he sent the stuff to us. In other words, he did the research, then we looked at it, we made decisions, and he's just like, okay, I'm gonna buy it and send it to you. And that's how this scope showed up here. If you know anything about these scopes, this is a $6,000 scope. Actually more than $6,000. It's like almost $6,200. And so I'm gonna get it out of here. Vicky might end up fast forwarding this. I don't know. I want to be careful with this $6,000 scope. Boy, it's really sealed up. I can't even get it open. Yeah, I mean, it's
up. Oh, yeah.
It's there. There's a tab that goes down in there. See it?
Yeah.
All right. Wow. Again, like I said, she can just fast forward this. Okay. All right, so here's what we got. Holy cow. I mean, it's sunshade. I don't even know how you get that out of there. You gonna shine in here? Show that in here? Pay attention, because it's gotta go. Well, actually it doesn't. I was about to say it has to go back. I'm gonna mount this on this gun later today. So there's that. There's a lot of stuff in here. Okay, this. All right, anyways, I can just set this over here. That goes like that. This goes on top of that like that. Okay, so anyways, here it is. So, made in Canada. In the very last video we did, I had my Premier here, my old original Premier directly from Chris Thomas. What did I say? I think it's serial number 000445. This is that scope 20 years later. And like I mentioned before, that's the only scope I ever trusted. Mine's a 5 to 25. This is, like I said, this is the 7 to 35. And so I like that it comes with lens covers right away. This reticle, I've never shot this reticle. I don't know whether I'm gonna like it or not. Looks pretty fine right there. These are first focal plane scopes, obviously. Yeah, no, I don't know if it would be my favorite. I like the Gen 2 or the Gen 3, but This is a lot of money, and this is what the customer wanted, so he got what he wanted. This is going to go on there, which is a segue to this. So you remember in the very last video, this is my call us 5 to 25 that took a crap on us. I mean, that's the best way to say it. I don't know what happened, but it wasn't shooting small groups like it had been. And so we packed it up and sent it back. By the way, they didn't want the box. They don't want the box. They just want the scope. No rings, no nothing on it. Bubble wrap the heck out of it. Put it in a plain unmarked brown box so people don't know there's a $3,000 scope in it, more than that, and send it back. Well, we sent it back, what do you think, about a week and a half ago maybe? And we haven't heard anything, but that's not unusual. You send them back and they're gone, then they'll come back. And this, I want to really point this out here because this may be a great opportunity for someone. When it comes back, I may not even open it. I might not even open the box. And I might, depending on how this goes, I might sell it at a really, really great deal for someone. So if you're out there and you want a really high-end scope, you want one of these, again, look, show them what it is. Okay? I might be selling that. And the only reason I will do it is because I'm going to get one of these. But if I get one of these, like I said, it'll be with the Gen 2 XR or the Gen 3. The deal is, like I said, this is a $6,000 scope. There's no way on earth I can afford a $6,000 scope. But if I sell one of these, I mean, I got a lot of scopes. I might sell a couple scopes to get one of these. I'm going to wait until I go out, till I evaluate it, till I take it out, till I shoot it, till I see, I don't know. But there may be a really awesome deal on one of these. Now, I want to talk about something, though, because it was a proven scope. We quit putting all the bullets through the same hole. We don't know why. We sent it back. Well, they may not even tell us why. They may not tell us what it was. But I want to tell you something about scopes over my whole career of like over 50 years of owning scopes. Every one I ever broke, and I broke a lot of them. That's gonna be another conversation here in a second. When they came back, they were always better. And what I mean is they were better than when they were new. Now that's going to sound really strange because you think, well, what'd they do? They just fixed it. Well, I don't want to name names and stuff, but this is actually a very, very interesting piece of information. So, and that's why this is here, by the way. See what this says right here? That's 375 H&H mag RWS brass, right? RWS. Most people never even heard that. That's the same people, RWS air guns and stuff. This brass, until this new stuff that we're just getting, this was probably the best brass that was ever made. This stuff is almost like steel. It doesn't even sound like brass when you hit it together. Super strong. Okay, so I said I was breaking a lot of scopes. I had a 284 bearer, a 308 bearer, and a 338 bearer. And that is all on full size 375 H&H cases. And let's just say I was shooting them hard. Okay, I was shooting them hard. That is those cartridges are about equal to nowadays a 28 nozzler or a 300 RUM or a 338 RUM. In other words, big guns, right? Big guns. And with my 308 bear, which was probably my best out of all of those, I was breaking scopes. I was breaking scopes a lot. And I won't say the name, that doesn't matter. Remember, any scope, if you subject it to enough recoil, probably even this, I mean, hopefully you can't break it, but maybe you can. So anyways, I was having all these scopes that was breaking and all kind of stuff. I mean, I spun objective lenses. I literally would have reticles just break, like you know, their wire in there, and a piece of it would break off, or the whole thing would blow out of the middle of it, or your adjustments would just stop. In other words, you turn the adjustments, nothing would move. So I was breaking a lot of scopes, and I'd send them back. Well, you break enough scopes, and somebody at the other end is going to pay attention to what's going on. And so you get a phone call, and that phone call leads to another phone call. And pretty soon, they're super interested in what you're doing and how you're breaking these scopes. And I got to know this person really well, okay, like really well. And that person was very high in that company, and they were in charge of this whole end of their manufacturing, okay? And so what was interesting about it is they'd fix them, send them back, and they wouldn't break. And of course, after I got to know this guy quite well, I said to him, well, if you can fix it so that it won't break the second or third time around, why don't you just make them like that? And this is what he told me. And again, not verbatim, word for word, but he said, the parts after they break, and when we see what's going on, he said, the parts that we put back into those scopes, he said, you got to realize this is like 30 years ago, 35 years ago. I think he said they cost a quarter, 25 cents more than the parts that they put in them the first time they build them. In other words, they had these backup parts that were, let's just say, heavier duty, right? Heavier duty springs, heavier duty washers. They put that stuff in and they stopped breaking. And I said, of course, to them, I said, well, if you guys know how to do this so that they won't break, and it only costs 25 cents to put them in, I said, why don't you just do that to begin with? And he said, the bean counters won't let us do that. And I said, you mean for 25 cents more? And then he said, yeah, but that's 25 cents times, and he said, how many thousand scopes? I mean, because this is a big company. These scopes are all over the whole world. It's definitely one of the better scope companies. And he said that could end up being hundreds of thousands or even, I guess, millions of dollars. And for 25 cents, they knew how to make it better, but the people above them, the finance people, wouldn't let them do it. So the deal is scopes break, and they know how to keep them from breaking. It's just most people don't. The average guys don't break scopes. Let's think about this. If you're shooting a 222 or a 22-250 or a 243 or a 6BR or anything up to about 30-06, the chance that you've seen broken scopes is probably fairly remote. It really is. Because you're not going to start really breaking scopes until you get into 7 mag, 300 Winchester, 28 Nosler, 30 Nosler, 300 Weatherby, 340 Weatherby. Then there's a very good chance you're going to be breaking scopes. By the way, that's something else that has come up since we put that other video up. I had a whole bunch of response from it. Guys even calling me. And it was really interesting. There was two groups of guys. The one guy is saying, oh, I broke a ton of scopes. They're having a conversation with me being like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're going through. I broke a ton of scopes in my life. Okay, then you have this other group over here. It's like, well, I never broke a scope. I never broke a scope. I've been shooting for 40 years, never broke a scope. And what was really interesting when I talked to them was the cartridges. The cartridge. So all these guys are prairie dog hunters or just shooting paper or whatever. They're not breaking scopes. These guys over here, they're shooting big magnums. They're breaking scopes. So what else I want to say? I want to show you. No, I want to quantify something. When a scope goes bad, say you're shooting a 6BR. And you have a 6BR that's actually capable, say, of consistently shooting 1/4 of an inch. Say it'll shoot 1/4 of an inch, 3/10 of an inch. And the scope goes bad, and you know the gun was capable of that. And you didn't change anything, and you're capable of that. And suddenly you're getting 1/2-inch groups. Well, you think about it. That's not very much. So it went from 0.3, now it's shooting 0.5. Or it went from 0.3, now it's shooting 0.6. On a 6BR bench gun or a 6PPC bench gun, you can easily identify that. It's like, okay, something's wrong here, right? Something's wrong. That's kind of pretty easy because it's a proven gun. You know the level of accuracy. You know what it normally does. And then something goes wrong and it suddenly doesn't. And then you switch scopes and it goes right back. Okay, that's easy. What's a million times harder is, say it's a big cartridge, say it's a 7 mag, and let's say it's a 300 Winchester, and say the gun's only capable of, say, 1/2 inch. Say that's what it's capable of, 1/2 inch, that's as good as it'll do. And you take it out and the gun's shooting 1 inch groups, right? You're shooting 1 inch groups with it. You don't really know in a cartridge of that intensity whether it's the gun or whether it's the scope. It's much harder to identify what the problem is with bigger guns and groups that are naturally bigger. Again, if you have a PPC that always shoots 1/4 of an inch and suddenly it shoots 3/4 of an inch, that's easy. It's a bad scope, right? Something happened. But that whole, especially too, tons of guys have guns that'll shoot, say, 3/4 of an inch. That's what the gun's capable of, but it's actually shooting 1.25 inches. Well, that very well can be the scope, but they never know. Okay, those things are hard to identify. But that's when they go bad subtly, right? Something went wrong internally, but it's not to any great extent, right? It's not easy to identify. And those are the hard ones, by the way. The ones that are easy is when it does this. I've kept this target, and yes, I might as well just point this out right away. The name of the scope and the serial number and everything is right there underneath that piece of paper. I don't want to show it. There's no reason to show it because all scopes go bad, okay? They will go bad if you beat them up enough, if you use them enough. So we covered that up. But this happened, this happened more than 10 years ago. This was a 300 Winchester shooting Berger 210s. And this, by the way, is an expensive scope. That's not some cheap scope. Okay, just think of all the different ones you've seen us use. It's an expensive, high-quality scope. I want you to look at this. Shot number 1, shot number 2, shot number 3, shot number 4. That's what I call it blew up. That scope blew up. And what's crazy is just a little bit before that, it was working fine. It was working fine. It was shooting little groups like this. But when they do that, and by the way, yes, we did shoot more targets, but I needed to keep this. I needed to keep this all these years for future reference so I can show people. By the way, this is 200 yards. 200 yards, and that group, that's like 6-inch group. And somewhere else, there's another video with another well-known scope brand where we were out in the field with a guy. You might want to go back and hunt for this, where there was a whole group of guys there. And we were standing behind this guy watching through a spotting scope. We actually had multiple spotting scopes. And we had already shot his gun with my Schmidt-Bender 5-25. It had already been on the gun. I let him shoot it, and it punched little holes. It was shooting like under 1/2 inch at 200 yards. And then I shot it. I let the customer shoot it. He sat down. He shot better than I did. Then we had already put his scope, brand new scope, out of the box the night before. We had put it in rings and everything. We took my Schmidt-Bender off. We put his on. And the next 3 shots went like here, like they went like here, here, and here. Not quite that big. Okay, and of course he turned around and like, what the heck? And I said, he couldn't hear us because he had earplugs in. I said to all the guys standing behind me, I said, watch this. I said, do it again. Because I recognized immediately what was going on. I said, shoot 3 more. And so he had 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. Guess what? They doubled. The 4th one, the 5th one, the 6th one, right on the same exact holes. And that is an indicator, by the way, that generally it's the scope, not the gun. Because if it's shooting small groups, but the small groups are in multiple places, that means the gun is shooting small groups. The scope isn't. So the movement is in the scope. It's moving around, and that's why you're getting the pattern on there. And it happens a lot more than what people think, a lot more. And what was interesting too, in that video, we took his, and this was an expensive scope also, we took it off, and it was funny, I've told this story before. The guy took the thing and threw it down in the field. Fortunately, it was a new plowed field. Didn't do a whole lot of damage to it. We put my Schmidt bender back on and immediately went right back to shooting like ½ inch at 200 yards. Well, we knew instantaneously then what it was. And again, I've told this before, but that guy took that scope to the manufacturer, drove there, went in there and said, look at this, this is the Schmidt bender, this is yours, and said, give me my money back. And they said, we won't give you your money back. And he said, I want my money back. And they said, we won't give you your money back. They said, and then he got out the fine print and it said, replace or repair. They said, we'll give you another scope. He's like, I don't want another scope. He said, I want my money back so that I can put that money toward buying a different scope. They said, we won't do it. Now, again, this is secondhand information. I wasn't there, but I guess he almost ended up going to jail. I guess it came to fisticuffs. You're going to give me my money back. Guess what? They didn't. They didn't give him his money back. I guess they threatened to call the cops. I mean, it got pretty heated. And so he took that scope, went home, thought about it, and then he called me up and said, well, I'm going to have to send it back to repair it because he's an honest man. He said, I can't sell it to anybody. He said, I know it's defective. And I said, well, what are you going to do? So he sent it back, got it repaired, did the same thing I'm thinking about doing here. Never even, as far as I know, never even took it out of the box. Took it to a gun show and sold it, and then went and bought the scope he wanted. Now, this is what's interesting. He couldn't afford a Schmidt bender. At that time, he couldn't afford a $3,000, $4,000 scope. So he bought, and I will say the name, he bought a Citron. A Citron, whatever their highest level Citron is. And do you know, this is what's amazing, that gun shot smaller groups with that Citron than it did with the Schmidt bender. And I'm telling you, I've seen this kind of stuff so many times. It doesn't have anything to do, the optical quality does, but the reliability, and this is not completely accurate, but it doesn't have anything to do with how much they cost. It has to do with what kind of internal integrity they have. That's what it's all about putting all the bullets through the same hole. That fella has been a long time customer. I still hear from him probably once every year, every other year. That same setup, that rifle, that Citron scope, it pounds literally one whole group. Groups the size of a dime at 200 yards. All these years later, still hammering. So he never did go get his $3,000 Schmidt bender. Anyways, that's an awful lot to say. This 6GT, as soon as she turns that camera off, I'm going to mount this in those rings on that gun, and then we're going to go shoot it. So the next time you see us, I don't know whether it'll be part of this video or not. We'll be out perhaps on Thanksgiving Day shooting this gun, and I have really high hopes. By the way, I don't know, I should have showed you this. Look, no butt hook. This is one of the things that I really like about Foundation. You can get it with the butt hook, or you can just get this. Look how that's shaped. This is going to be, I mean, this is going to be a very nice gun to shoot off of the bench. So and usually we have very good luck with Brooks barrels. So I'm hoping we're going to go out there and punch one hole. By the way, and I don't want to give too much away. You remember I was teasing reamer video. Well, guess what? Someone very well known in the industry is coming here, and we're going to do the reamer video. The thing is, again, we're not rich people. We have to fly that person here. We have to pay for a hotel. We have to do a whole bunch of stuff. And right now, during the holidays, it's just crazy. It's too much money to get him here. But as soon as Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff is over, when the airline tickets go back down, we're going to do a super cool reamer video. And I bet I learn as much as you guys learn, maybe even more. All right, see you later.